we doing, everybody? And welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back on a Sunday, a great Sunday. Let's call it a great Sunday, right? Packers didn't lose this weekend. The Badgers didn't play, so they couldn't lose, right? I didn't have to see Braden Locke throw another interception, so it was a good weekend. Went Christmas shopping with the wife. It was fantastic, right? It's just getting into November. We're getting Christmas decorations. Can't name a better time of year, Kyle. I got Kyle with me tonight. Chopping on the Bet podcast. You can find him there, Twitter, wherever you want to find him. Great show. You got to check this guy out. He is fantastic. Kyle, how we doing tonight? Sunday? Great Sunday here.
Hey, it's a great Sunday for me. Patriots get a win. I'm happy the Celtics won, which unfortunately was against your team. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I can't be mad. Can't be mad right now.
Can't hate it, right? You can't hate on what is going on for you right now. Outside of, you wish that the Patriots were still, up there in the rankings right now. But outside of that, doing well. You can't complain too much on that side. So lots to get into today. We want to start out with the Badgers basketball, right? Men's basketball got a good weekend. Had a good weekend. They beat Montana State. They beat Appalachian State. We want to talk about that Badgers game there against Appalachian State because it was a good game. 87-56, the final score there. Badgers get the win. There was a lot of good things we saw in that one. A lot of, hope they clean up kind of things there. The Badgers started out slow again, right? And it's been a continuing thing for them. Started out slow against Holy Cross. Had to dig themselves out of a hole. Started out slow versus Montana State. Found their footing fast in that one, though. And then in this game against Appalachian State, they go down 17-6 at one point. Win on a 28-3 run to end the first half. Answered back, right? And that's a good thing you can take away from it is they answered that call. They're getting kind of spanked around there. They answered the call, found their way back into these games here. And some decent performances on the backside of that. Tanjay with 17 again. We saw Klesmit with 15, 17 out of Stephen Crowell and Nolan Winter with 10 in that game there. But that's the extent of the big scoring, right? We see Amos come off the bench there with 10. And that's one of the biggest things that I looked at coming off this one is the Badgers still, how deep can they go on that bench, right? That's always something that seems to lack on certain teams out there. And the Badgers right now, for me, I'm looking at this bench and I'm like, okay, I know I can go to Amos, but we still, you look at the minutes there. He had 12 minutes played in this one. Gilmore had 10, McGee with 22 off the bench. And I love what McGee gives you off the bench for the Badgers there. But the lack of bench, right? You got to be able to find scoring when you go away from the starters. And you look at the scoring off the bench, outside of that 10 from Amos there, you had 3 from Jack Robinson and you had 4 from Kamari McGee. Outside of that, you don't get a lot of production off that bench. So that's something that I'm keeping an eye on there is there going to be that production coming off that bench for the Badgers? Because you cannot just rely on your starters constantly putting numbers up like this and getting you to this point because you might get in foul trouble. You might play one of those games where you're playing a quick team and you got to have breaks. You got to have guys come, mass subs, whatever it is. You got to find ways to score when they're on the bench. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on is the bench for Wisconsin. Do they find that scoring coming off that bench there? The Badgers offense, they go through waves for me. And when their offense is at its best, it's working inside out. You and me, we were talking about that game against, I think it was Holy Cross leading up into that one. We're like, they don't have size. You got to find a way to get it inside and then work it back outside for threes. The Badgers went away from that early. They're like, oh, let's just start jacking up shots. Let's start jacking up threes. You can't do that. You can't just go into a game with that mindset. The Badgers, they have a decent enough shooting team. They have guys who can knock down shots, but that's not their game. They got to find ways to work it inside out. And that's what we saw again against Appalachian State there. They kind of went away from it early, and then they figured out, we do have an advantage on the inside. Let's work it in there. Let's do that. And when they did, they found their way into this big, 28-3 scoring run here. There was some threes mixed in there, but it was a lot of Stephen Crowell. It was a lot of getting it down to the post, guys driving, cutting, whatever it was, making things work. So you got to love that. They did a great job taking care of the basketball in this one. I thought, turnover battle was big in this one. They found a way to turn Appalachian State over there. McGee, like I mentioned earlier, he continues to be that spark plug off the bench for the Badgers there. He does those little things, right? Defensively does those little things, facilitating the basketball. I talked about his 4 points, not huge, but he finds ways to contribute in other ways, just like Carter Gilmore. I hate the diss on that guy because he finds different ways to contribute each game for this Badger team. So I love seeing that there. Getting to the line, the free throw line, once again, 13 for 16. They've been impressive at the free throw line this season, so you love that there. Outside of that, I talked about the bench there. I think Amos could use a couple more minutes here and there. I think Amos could be a big time scorer for him. I mean, he's got a rhythm from the outside. You see him in this one, 2 for 4 from downtown. He kind of got a rhythm there going on. So you like that. Outside of that, I mean, Kyle, what did you see? I mean, looking at the stats from this one, what did you see from, the Badgers, Appalachian State? What'd you like from Wisconsin in this game? Looking at some of them stats.
Yeah, so like when you see kind of the breakdown stat wise, because look, Appalachian State and Wisconsin, they're kind of two different levels, but you want to build good habits. So what did I like? The 14 steals. That shows guys moving their feet, guys helping out, putting offensive players in bad positions, forcing turnovers. Love to see that. That's something that if they can carry that over into Big Ten play, they'll be fine. I love the fact that they had 43 rebounds. They won the rebound battle. Now, once again, it is Appalachian State. We'll see how they do against some of these other schools once they get into the Big Ten schedule. But you win the rebounding battle, you cause turnovers or steals. That means you can get out in transition. You get easy buckets. I love to see stuff like that. Points off turnovers with the steals, they had 16 points off turnovers. That's 16 easy points. When you get into Big Ten play, those 16 points can do a lot for you. What I don't necessarily like, 8 for 28 from three, 28%. That's you would love to see that number a little bit higher than that. But, once again, this is something that they're still working with. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the 3-point shooting kind of trends throughout the season. Do they become a team that you can factor them for like 20 to 25 threes? Can they get you 10 makes out of that? We'll see. But for me, the steals is a big number for me because 14, that's doing work. A lot of teams might get 3, 4, 5, and you feel like they had a good night. You can get 14. Obviously, not going to do that every night, but that shows guys locked in, knowing their assignments, knowing where ball and their man is, and locking in. Like that's good to see early on in this season. So I think all in all, for where Wisconsin is and where App State is, I think the stats look favorable. Like I said, the only glaring thing is the 3-point shooting, but everything else you can kind of work with because even field goal percentage with that bad 3-point number, they still shot 47% from the field. I'll take that any day.
And that's I think Wisconsin's trying to play into the hands of new college basketball, right? Put up as many shots as you possibly can, and 8 for 28 doesn't look that bad at the end of the day because you still had 8, right? And I think that's kind of the way you put up 70 shots in this game. And that just seems like that's going to be the MO for Wisconsin. That's going to be what they try to do. They're going to try and put up as many shots as they can. And you're going to have games where you go 11 for 28 and you're going to be like, that's good. That's good night from the 3-point line. Like, we'll take that because, like you said, on the flip side of it, they still shot 47%. Not bad. I mean, it's not a bad night at the office. Now it's going to be when you get into those big games, what's going to happen? Will you rely solely on that outside shot? Or are you going to be able to do both? I think in this game against Appalachian State, I saw them do both. And that's something that I was keying in on, what I wanted to see, work the ball around, cutters, whatever it was. Tanjay, I mean, we lost AJ Storr, but we got Tanjay. And I love what I'm seeing out of him so far. He's got the ability, 3-level score, the ability to get to the rim when he gets there to finish, get to the free throw line, knock down those free throws. Those are big. Those are big time. Knocking down free throws will always be big. Wisconsin, I mean, they're built off of, we're going to rebound and we're going to shoot free throws. That's through the years what they were built on. They kind of got away from that. Hopefully this team is kind of gearing back towards that. Second chance points too, finding ways to get second chance points, rebounding the basketball, like you mentioned there. Offensive rebounds, they had 14 offensive rebounds in this game, getting after the glass. You love to see numbers like that. So, I mean, all the way around, a solid win. This isn't a great Appalachian State team, like you said. I mean, they're on different levels of this, of a spectrum there. But, I mean, these are kind of the sketchy games, right? You get early on, you're still trying to figure yourself out. You're still trying to figure out, that's a big thing for Wisconsin too. They're undecided what their rotation is at this point. They don't know yet. They're still trying to figure out who fits where and everything like that. So that's something that we're watching in this one. They have a huge test right early on here. They have number 10 Arizona coming up next year. So that is going to be that's a clash right there. That's a clash. We're going to see. You know what? Honestly, I don't even care. If Wisconsin loses that game, they lose that game. If they win that game, fantastic. Like, I'm still cheering for a win. But I want to see Wisconsin show me something in that game. Like, you're going to find out a lot about this team, how they can compete, right? Because Arizona, I think they're going to be better than Iowa. I think they're going to be probably better than Illinois. Minnesota, they're probably going to be better than them. I don't know about Ohio State. That's a good team. They have a lot of recruits that came into Ohio State. That's going to be a good team. But like Nebraska, Maryland, I think Arizona's better than those teams right there. So when I look at this game against Arizona, I'm like, okay, I want to see a well put together game by Wisconsin. And if they come on the losing end of it and they lose by like 5-10 points, I walk away a pretty happy man. But if they lose by 30, okay, now we're back to the drawing board of like, what is this team? Where are we at right now? Program wise, player wise, whatever it is. So this is going to be a big game. It's coming up the 15th. What is the 15th? 5 days from now? Holy catsola. They got a little break here. Is that on Friday? Thursday? Friday. Thursday or Friday?
Yes. It's Thursday, right?
Thursday? I want to say Thursday. I want to say we're right with Thursday. The 15th is Friday. Holy crap. They got a 5 day. You got a break, right? I mean, you just came off these wins here. You got a little bit of a break. Get your fresh legs underneath you. Prepare. Get ready for Arizona. Arizona, I wanted to see who they've faced off with so far here. They're 2-0 right now. They've played Canisius. I don't even know how to say that. They're Canisius. And then I got a tickle in my throat right now. Holy crap. Tried saying Canisius, and I got a tickle in my throat. I got Canisius there, and we got Old Dominion. So we haven't really seen Arizona play too much right now, but they still got a good team. Like, I don't know how Caleb Love is still playing college basketball. I got to believe he's in like his 14th season at this point here, but Caleb Love's still there. You got Jaden Bradley. You got some good players down there in Arizona. So that is going to be a huge test for Wisconsin to see where they're at. And I mean, we're going to find out, like, win or lose. I want to learn something about Wisconsin basketball coming out of that game and how I view them going into the Big Ten schedule or the rest of the way there for them. So should be a good game coming up there. Hopefully a good game coming up there for the Badgers. It's at the Kohl Center. So that helps, right? A little home cooking maybe for the Badgers. You got to love that. That's the good, right, Kyle? That's the good. Let's talk about the Bucks because we got to talk about the bad part about this. So they get a win a couple days ago there. They played the Jazz, got a win. They go play the Knicks. It looks terrible. They look like they suck again. They lose 116-94. This team looks terrible. And then they play the Celtics. And once again, 2 games against the Celtics where they actually look decent. That first game, they lost 119-108, but that was still a good game. Like, I thought the Bucks were in that game. The second game around against Celtics, they're in this game. They don't look terrible. They're in this game. But I look at this Bucks team and I look at the scoring. I just look at the scoring and I look at Dame. I look at Giannis and I'm like, okay, Giannis gives me 43. Now, Dame didn't have a good day. 14 points, not a great day. Like, this was his lower point of what we've seen so far out of Damian Lillard. But man, oh man, I'm looking at this team and Taurean Prince, Brook Lopez. I mean, Jackson Jr., I'm not expecting the world out of him. Don't get me. I'm not expecting the world out of Jackson Jr. But I look at the bench. Bobby does well off the bench there. Connington not giving me nothing. AJ Green's knocking down shots. Our backup point guard in Rollins there. He had no points today. 12 minutes. I mean, you don't have a backup point guard who's going to score consistently for you. So I mean, let's not just talk about the Bucks here. What did you like about this matchup here from your Celtics, and then we'll dive into the Bucks a little bit on the backside of that.
Yeah, for me with the Celtics, it was Tatum struggled from the field, but I think what we've kind of seen from him, especially last playoffs, even though a lot of people thought something was wrong with him, when his shot isn't going, he gets into doing other things. He had 12 rebounds, which led the team. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know is, like, he's a really good rebounder. You could kind of pencil him in for 8, 9, 10 rebounds a night. He gets 12 tonight. But I think the most important thing with him was he had 15 free throw attempts. And one thing that has been a knock on Tatum for a lot of his career is that he doesn't get to the free throw line necessarily a lot. But with the 15 free throws shows he was being aggressive. He wasn't knocking down shots necessarily, but he took advantage of his free throws, and that's what was encouraging for me. I think the last matchup, for some reason, I want to say Jalen Brown didn't play in the last one,
I don't think so. I think you're
and he
right.
played
I don't think he
right, and he
played.
played in this one. He he had only had 14 points, but because I was talking to like Brett, who's also a Packers fan, a Bucks fan as well. The whole thing with Giannis now makes the third matchup more interesting because he and Jalen Brown got into it. He put his hand up to shake his hand and then did the too slow, which I hadn't seen that in like 15 years. Shout out to Giannis for still doing it. Knowing the kind of person that Jalen Brown is, Jalen Brown has a lot of petty in him, and I love it. So something tells me the third game that those two are going to get involved. And I don't think this is a bad thing in any way. I feel like for a lot of NBA fans, they want to see hatred amongst teams. And one thing we know is that Giannis isn't all about the whole, oh, you play for whoever, we're buddies and all that. No. Giannis is like, I play for the Bucks, you play for whoever, you do you. I'm trying to, rip your guts out here. So this adds another layer to two teams that have had some really good like series and all that the past few years where there is like a built-in hatred there. If this is something that grows a little bit more, I think it's good for the league. I feel like this is one of the things that the league needs more of. Missoula joked about it a couple of weeks ago, like we need more fighting in the league. Now, obviously, you don't necessarily need to see fighting, but I think he's just talking about, like we need more chippiness. I love it, and I think these two teams, it could get interesting. I mean, yes, the Bucks are still 2-8. Like you said, we'll get into the Bucks part here in a second, but the Celtics, like they did what they normally do. They get guys in double figures, which means they put a lot of pressure on you defensively to cover all these guys that can beat you at the rim and on the perimeter. Like Peyton Pritchard, this has been his season of breakout, and he had another good game today. So I like what I saw from them. They're 9-2 now. They've clearly established themselves as one of the top teams in the East once again, even though Cleveland is still undefeated, I believe. And they meet Cleveland next week, so I will be interested to see how that game goes. But yeah, I thought it was a real professional win from them. The third quarter is where they won it. They held
Yeah,
Milwaukee to 15 points. Like that's kind of becoming a bit of their MO. They'll play the first half. In the third quarter, they go out on these runs early on, and it's whether or not the team can bounce back from that. But even like you said, I didn't think it was like a terrible showing from Milwaukee.
no, they find ways against the Celtics. I don't know what it is. We play the Celtics, we look like a decent team. We play crap teams. We look. I mean, the Cavs. We should have beat the Cavs twice. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was two close games with the Cavs. One of them came down to the last. I mean, late shot by Donovan Mitchell to win it. So I mean,
Yeah,
man, oh man. But I mean, you're 100%. I was going to ask you if Peyton Pritchard just waits for the Bucks. Like it seems like every time the Bucks see Peyton Pritchard, he knocks down like at least three threes in that game. Like that's just his thing.
yeah,
I don't know. He just doesn't like Milwaukee. I did. I mean, I saw that. I saw that between Giannis and Jalen Brown there, and I was like, Giannis is just trying to goof. Like he's just trying to goof
yeah,
around. And Jalen Brown's like, dude, no, like he's gonna give him a handshake. Then yeah, Giannis does the old, too slow. And I was like, that's just Giannis being Giannis. And Jalen Brown's like, dude, I'm just enough. Like I've had enough of this. Like,
yes,
okay, here we go,
yeah.
here we go. Like
That's
this,
what I'm like. If Giannis wanted to do that, there's other people on the Celtics who would have done that too. Like
yeah,
Tatum, I feel like it would have been nothing. I don't think Horford, because he and Horford have a history as well. Horford probably would have done the Jalen Brown with it. Derek White, it would have been fine. Maybe even Drew Holiday. Jalen Brown is the one that you don't do that with. Because Jalen Brown has an old school mentality about him as well, which is what I love about him. He has Celtics green on. He's looking to destroy whoever's across from him. And maybe Giannis was doing it to him for reasons that only Giannis will know, because Giannis, yeah, no, he's Giannis. After the last game, he can go to a reporter and say, if you don't want to be here, then get out. Everybody's scrambling to figure out who he's talking about. Like this is who Giannis is, and I respect Giannis. I love watching Giannis play. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the league. He's a character. I will agree with that. I think
Yeah,
people. I feel like people didn't know that about him because he was a guy that was quiet early in his career. So I think people kind of just missed this part of him. Like he has a real Joker type of style to him.
yeah, no, I would 100% agree. I would 100% agree. Like that's just Giannis being
Yeah,
Giannis and Jalen Brown being Jalen Brown. Like he just doesn't. He's not a goof like that. He doesn't
yes,
mess around like that. Like that's just it. It's not him. And I
yeah,
mean, you wanna hate on Jalen Brown for it, but that's his personality. And at the end of the day, you accept it and you kind of just it's gonna be one of those storylines now. We'll wait and see kind of what transpires second time around. What comes out of it second time around there. But I mean, this Bucks team, man, this Bucks team,
hmm
Lopez Lopez is a non-factor against athletic bigs. He's just a non-factor.
yes,
Maybe that's why when they do face off with the Celtics, Horford's not, you know, overly athletic. So Lopez has a little bit better of a matchup. But when he was against Cat the other night there, when they played the Knicks, it was terrible. Like that was just
hmm
terrible. He should have never been on Cat to begin with. And it's Lopez. You got the problems with Lopez. Gary Trent Jr., you brought him in. He's not, I mean, he's cold. He's not able to knock down shots for you. I believe he was out for this game anyways. One of those, he was out, but probably just trying to, I don't know, recoup or, try and figure it out mentally what the heck's going on there. So you don't have Gary Trent for this game. Torian Prince is, I mean, he's hit or miss, right? But he's a bench player. He's not meant for this role here. He's not meant for
yeah,
this role. And we've talked about it before. Chris Middleton isn't going to fix this. I don't believe Chris Middleton coming back is going to be the ultimate solution. Will it add scoring to your team? Yeah, I think it'll add scoring. But I look at the defense for the Bucks. They're slow. They're slow getting after guys. They're slow. It's just a very old veteran-led group that can't compete with these other teams right now. The floor spacing for the Bucks is terrible. I believe it's terrible for me. They don't move. You watch the Celtics. That ball moves at 1,000 miles per hour. Like it doesn't
hmm
sit in one spot for too long. The Bucks are so stagnant. Damian Lillard's got it. It's Dame time. It's Dame's show now. And then you see Giannis get it. And it's Giannis's time. And then Brooke Lopez gets it. It's like, please don't shoot. Like at this point, please don't shoot at this point here. It's such a stagnant offense. And it comes back to energy, right?
hmm
Bringing energy to this team. I believe that's why we're seeing Andre Jackson Jr. in that starting lineup. Not just that Gary Trent Jr. can't hit a shot, but he's going to bring energy to the floor. So when I see him with 1 point there, I'm not as worried about that because this guy's at least going to bring me defensive energy down there. You need something, right? You need somebody to bring energy to the floor. I don't think Giannis has played as well defensively as he did in the past there. And
hmm
we look back at the championship run the Bucks made. Why was it so successful? They turned teams over. They were able to score in transition. That was the biggest thing for the Bucks.
yep,
Transition points, right? They are not getting these transition buckets here. This is a old, slow lineup that isn't turning teams over. The defense is terrible. And we want to sit here and we want to blame Doc Rivers until we're blue in the face. And I didn't think Doc Rivers was a good hire to begin with. But if you're Doc Rivers, what are you supposed to do, right? What are you supposed to do with this lineup? What are you supposed to do with this roster at this point here? For me, I'm playing the young guys. I'm just saying,
hmm
screw it. I'm throwing all my young guys out there. You have all these guys on your bench here. Smith on the bench, Beach Camp. You have Johnson on the bench there. You have all these young guys. I'm just saying, screw it. I'm throwing these guys out there. I'm trying to find lightning in a bottle at this point because what you're doing right now with Torian Prince and you're throwing out Brooke Lopez out there for extended minutes and Pat Connaughton. Pat Connaughton stinks. I don't know who needs to hear that yet, but Pat Connaughton stinks. What does he do for me? What does he realistically do for me? I saw him airball a bunny the other night against the Knicks. Just airball this bunny point blank. Like it was almost Pat Connaughton's like, this is it. This has got to be it. You're telling me that Delion Wright is playing so bad that he cannot play here, but Pat Connaughton's playing better?
yeah.
I don't know what you're watching. I don't know what you're watching. What do you think? Like, okay, I'll ask you this question.
hmm
Doc Rivers, I don't believe he's a good coach. I would not have brought Doc Rivers into this and tried to make him be the answer. But can you blame this all on Doc Rivers? I mean, honestly, can you blame this all on Doc Rivers? Or is it the energy from some of these guys, I mean, supposed to be your stars, right? Brooke Lopez, etc. on this team, stepping up and being players out there, trying to be athletic and not being lazy. This team is the definition of lazy basketball. This is lazy basketball, right? The Celtics are the definition of high pace, fast. We're going to work it around, just like you said with Jason Tatum. Doesn't have a good night shooting. He's still rebounding the basketball. He's doing the little things. This team right now, this is a lazy basketball team. Can you blame all of this on Doc Rivers, or do you need to do a self check here as a lineup and then maybe put some blame on Doc? I'm not saying don't put any blame on Doc. I put blame on Doc, but is this all on Doc?
No. Well, yeah, no, because a lot of it is the makeup of the team, and a lot of it is the philosophy of the team. Defensively, they've kind of been like this for a few years now. In transition, they love running to the paint to take away the inside. Unfortunately, against a team like Boston, Boston loves shooting threes. So it's been a while for me that I remember Milwaukee really being a good perimeter, defender of the three. I feel like that part, if Doc disagrees with it, might take some time to break the habit with these guys. But you also have to, give Doc a lot of blame because I don't understand the Gary Trent and Torian Prince. Like, obviously, like I said, Gary Trent didn't play in this one, but like the last one, it was like Gary Trent and Prince are getting dedicated minutes. I feel like with those two guys, Doc Rivers needs to change the mindset. You're doing well if one of them is going well, but if they are both struggling, there's no need to run them out there 30 minutes or 25 or something. I agree with you. I would turn to the bench and I'd say, I don't know, I'd say Johnson, let's see what you have. I'll give you 5 minutes. If you play well, I might pull you, put you in for 2 more minutes here later on. But some of these guys who have dedicated minutes don't need it. Brooke Lopez, I feel like Brooke Lopez has had his time. He should not have a dedicated minute limit. If he's on one night, fine, play him 30 minutes. If he's off and he's like doing nothing for you defensively, he's not really contributing a lot, limit his minutes, put somebody else in, just try different combinations. Pat Connaughton was good 3-4 years ago. That doesn't mean that Pat Connaughton in 2024, I mean, he only had 13 minutes, fine, but I feel like there could be some nights where Pat Connaughton doesn't play and you're fine.
Yep.
It seems like Pat Connaughton has a set rotation amount each night. He doesn't deserve that at this point. So I think that's where Doc needs to switch it up. Get some of these guys uncomfortable. Because right now, a lot of them show to the arena, they know, oh, I'm going to start. I'm going to play like 30 minutes. If I'm good, I'm good. If I'm not, I'm not, but I'm getting that. No. You're 2-8. That time of the year, you lost that privilege of guaranteed playing time. So
yep.
if I'm him next game, if Connaughton doesn't have it, cool. You can sit right next to me on the bench, and I'll play DeLon Wright. He's another veteran, and if he doesn't have it, I'll sit him down. I'll put Beauchamp in. If he doesn't have it, then I need to go to the front office and go get me somebody who does have it. Like that. That's where I'm at with Milwaukee. They should not be this bad. But when you watch them play, you're like, I see why they're this bad. Like there's glaring needs on this team. If they don't fix through trades or whatever, then like you said, put young guys out there. If you're gonna lose anyway, at least get some energy on the floor.
Yep.
I hate to see them play slow and then still lose. Like, what's the point?
No, 100%. 100% agree with you. I mean, like he hit the nail on the head. I mean, you want to blame Doc because his rotations right now just don't make sense, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting any better right now by putting Pat Connaughton in for extended minutes, by keeping Torian Prince in there when he gives you 38 minutes of play and 9 points. 38 minutes of play and 9 points. 3 for 4 from downtown. You want to say that's a good night, but you're getting
Yeah.
9 points out of one of your, I guess, crucial positions there on the wing. And then you have guys like, I mean, Dame 14 points doesn't help, right? If Dame has a normal night here for the Bucks, they might win this game against the Celtics. He has a down night, they lose this game. So that doesn't help at all. But you have one of your main cogs right now, Brook Lopez, supposed to be, right? 29 minutes, 6 points. He gives you 6 points in 29 minutes of play.
Getting 1 rebound, and he's a 7-footer.
One
That's the
rebound.
thing I hate about Brook Lopez. He's one of the worst rebounders for the size that he has.
Yep.
And that's
100%.
where Doc needs to get on him for that. 1 rebound is ridiculous.
Well, you watch him half the time, it's 3-point line to 3-point line. That's all he's running. He doesn't go down into that paint area. Like you have, I mean, Taurean Prince out rebounds him. You see guys like Damian Lillard out rebound him. Andre Jackson Jr. out rebounds him. Portis, I mean, AJ Green out rebounds him there. AJ Green's coming off the bench and he has 3 rebounds. Like we're talking about a guy in Brook Lopez who is your big fella. Like that's your big fella. That's his job. Get down in the paint, give me rebounds. Yes, 3 blocks are great. I love the blocks. Like I love the block party that he throws every once in a while. But outside of that, what's he doing? What's he doing for me? You have no athletic big that you're throwing out there at this point that can replace. You can look back at drafts, you can look at whatever, but right now, I'm looking at the youth and I'm like, just throw them out there. Like you were mentioning, like I said, bring some energy, show me something. I don't need to see them for 30 minutes. I don't need to see Johnson, Smith, Wright. I don't need to see any, I mean, Wright's not youth, but I don't need to see any of these guys for 30 minutes. Give me 5. Like you said, give me 5. You show me something in 5, beach camp, right? We're so easily like, this guy's nothing. This guy's going to be nothing. We're not going to pick up his extension. Drew Holiday loved beach camp. He loved him. He said, this is going to be a guy that you're going to want to sign up. Drew Holiday's gone. Now we're like, oh, beach camp's nothing. He's nothing to us. We don't need him. What tells you that he couldn't be a player on this team? A something for you. You know, right now we're not learning anything by throwing Taurean Prince, you know, Brook Lopez, and I like Andre Jackson Jr., but throwing these guys out here, these role players who are starting 30 minutes, we're giving them 30 minutes, and we're not learning jack squat about anything at this point outside of that, oh, something's not working. Something's not working. I can't figure out what. I can't put a finger on it, but something's not working here. Like this is just, it's terrible. It is terrible basketball all the way around. Like I've yelled for years about the NBA with no defense and anything like that. Like I've yelled about it. This Bucks team takes no defense to another level. They take it to another level. I didn't think you could take it to the next level. This is absolutely no defense, lazy basketball. This is just, I mean, I don't even turn it on to watch it half the time. I'll check out the box score every once in a while. I'll watch, you know, highlights. I'll rewatch the quick clips of it, you know, so I don't have to sit there and watch this. Because if I had to watch this you know, you're sitting there for 2 hours, whatever it is a night, and you dedicate that to watching this, I would rather watch Braden Locke throw interceptions for the Badgers than watch this crap show right now. And I am a man, Braden Locke. That guy drives me nuts. Me nuts. But this is bad. This is bad right now for the Bucks, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens in Milwaukee. See if, you know, right now trades seem like they're not going to happen because they're in that second apron. They can't afford to bring in more money. They put themselves in this. They put themselves in this bind, and it's just how it goes, right? Haslam's now in the ownership group. I don't want to blame Haslam, but he brought in Deshaun Watson to the Browns. He makes some very bad decisions, and from what I heard, I don't know if it's the truth, but what I saw was that Haslam had a little bit to do with Doc Rivers being hired. Horst didn't want Doc Rivers. Haslam and the ownership group wanted Doc Rivers, so they brought him in. So we want to blame Horst for these moves. I don't know if he's the main guy to blame. I don't know if he's the main guy to blame there. So, I mean, that's Bucks basketball right there. We don't got much good to say at this point here outside of, I like Andre Jackson Jr. I think he brings a spark to this team. I do. He's got a boatload of energy, and I hope that he can develop into something, maybe a little bit more of a potent scorer, right? A little bit more of a scorer. If he gets that next level to his game, that guy's going to be a heck of a ball player. He's going to be a heck of a ball player. AJ Green, he's the Bucks Pritchard, right? He's the Bucks Pritchard at this point. He doesn't do much except for shoot threes, but you love that. I mean, you got to have a guy like that. The Celtics got it with Pritchard. The Bucks got it with AJ Green. So, I mean, that's about the good that we have to say about Milwaukee right now. So let's look at the standings right now. Wow. I can't believe I'm looking at the Bucks where they're at right now in the standings, but that's still still catches me off guard. They're below the Detroit Pistons. You want to know how bad the Bucks are? They're below the Detroit Pistons at this point. Like that tells you how bad they are. That tells you how bad they are. I mean, they got an easier schedule coming up here. The Bucks do. They got a little bit of a, I guess, break from the big teams. They have the Raptors, the Pistons, who are ahead of them right now. The Hornets, the Rockets, the Bulls, and then they play the Pacers, the Hornets. I mean, they got a little bit easier of a schedule coming up. So hopefully we see some of the younger guys, they, figure out something and they look a little bit better here when it comes to month's end. But right now, I'm not seeing we were talking about the pinhole before on the on snap counts there on Integrity Sports Network. We were talking about the pinhole for the Jets fans getting into the playoffs. Right now, there's a pinhole of light for the Bucks figuring this one out, and hopefully that pinhole becomes maybe a bolt hole at some point here and gets a little bit bigger. But right now, it is a mess. So let's look at the Eastern Conference right now. Cavs up top, 11-0. And I think they'll get beat here pretty soon, probably by the Celtics, and then they'll come back down to earth. Celtics at 9-2 right now. We see the Pacers 5-5. There's a lot of struggling records after the top there. Pacers 5-5. Magic, they're 5-6 right now. We see the Knicks at 4-5. Charlotte at 4-5. The Nets 4-6. The Bulls 4-6. 3-5 are the Heat, and then the Pistons at 4-7. And then we see my Bucks down there 2-8 right now. Anything stick out right now? I guess in the Eastern Conference wise, Cavs up top, Celtics in that too. I think the normal cast of characters 1 through 5, what I expected this season, those teams I expected to be kind of up near the top. The Hornets, a little bit of surprise so far. They might come back down. They have 4 wins, right? It's nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. The Nets have 4 wins too, and then you see the Bulls and the Heat and the Pistons in there too. I mean, out of the those teams there, anything surprising you so far?
I mean, look, you talked about the Bucks at the bottom. You got the Sixers, even worse off than them. They're dealing with the Embiid injury. I know. I'm gonna say Brooklyn and 7th. I watched Brooklyn very closely the other night against the Celtics. Brooklyn's going to be a team that's going to give certain teams problems. They play very aggressive defense. They have guys offensively that if you catch them on the right night, they are going to surprise a lot of teams. Like Cam Thomas is a guy who can fill it up. Schroeder is just an annoyance. He can get under a lot of teams' skin. He'll score a little bit. So I think Brooklyn's going to be a team that I'm interested to see going forward how good they are. Like I said, right now they're hanging around at 4-6, and they look like kind of a 500 team at best. But I think they're a team that if they were able to make a move, could be a little bit better. Outside of that, I think the Heat, this is kind of where they live. They live in the play-in. I think Butler went out of their last game with a little bit of an injury. We'll have to see if that's something that lingers all season. Will he be in and out of the lineup? I don't know. But, I mean, the Hornets up at 6th. I don't expect that to last. The Hornets are not a good team. I want them to do well. Like, Charles Lee was on Missoula's staff last year. I know he came from the Bucks as well. He seems like he's going to be a good coach. I just don't like some of the players in Charlotte. Like, they can be fun to watch, but they're one of those teams you'll watch. They'll give you 3 or 4 Sports Center level highlight plays, and then by the 4th quarter they're down by 15, and you're like, what's it worth? Okay, you got a few moments of excitement to just get blown out. So I think they will start dropping like a stone here. The Pistons have been everybody's hopeful team for 3-4 years because they have so many young guys that are on that team. It seems like they just need the right coach to get them to a better position. And Cade Cunningham's balling right now. Jaden Ivey, after spending last year in the doghouse, is playing well again, that he's kind of in the lineup. So I think Detroit can be interesting. I don't know how much to buy into them because they're still a young team. I guess the last one, the Knicks at 4-5. A lot of people thought the Knicks were going to be, up there in the East fighting for the 1 seed. And they haven't started off well, but, they made 2 big moves in the offseason, so they need some time to gel. But I do think that that's a team worth paying attention to. Because I think if the season continues like this and they start sort of falling short of expectations, I want to see who becomes like a leader on that team. Because Brunson is kind of the unquestioned leader, but you bring in Cat, who's a veteran in this league. You have Bridges. Although Bridges seems like the quiet type. Like if things start going south in New York, who do they turn to get everybody back on board? Like that's kind of one of the questions I have as to whether or not this Knicks team can actually do what a lot of Knicks fans think, and is like make a NBA Finals, contend for a title. I don't know if I'm there with them yet, and this start kind of proves why I'm not necessarily there. But there's still a lot of season left, of course.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I just got a notification across there. Jalen Brown called Giannis a child. He said that Giannis is a child. So I can't wait for Celtics and Bucks round
I
three
think they're
because
playing like I think they're playing like 2 weeks.
Giannis is going to take exception to being called a child by Jalen Brown because, I mean, yes, I know Jalen Brown's got his way, but like he's messing around. Like he's just trying to joke around Jalen Brown. Giannis is in a sucky situation with the Bucks right now. He's just trying to poke some fun. Jalen
Yeah.
Brown calls him a child. Like cinema, baby. This is setting up for a good one, round three. So I can't wait for that one there. Let's look at the West. Let's look at the West real quick here. Suns up top there, 8-1, been playing well. We see
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma City Thunder, they're 8-1 too. We have the Golden State Warriors 7-2. Buddy Hield is kind of fitting in like Klay Thompson did before there. I think they got
Yeah.
rid of the Splash Bro and they found another guy there. So you gotta
Yep.
love that. Timberwolves 6-3. Denver Nuggets sitting at 6-3 right now. Rockets 6-4. Memphis at 6-4. Clippers 6-4. Lakers 5-4. And then the Dallas Mavericks at 5-4 right now. I'll be honest
Mm-hmm.
with you. Versus the East, the West looks pretty like these could be my playoff teams. Like these right here.
Mm-hmm.
These top 10 could be my playoff teams. I look at the East and I'm like, we're missing the Sixers, we're missing the Bucks, like we're missing some of the better teams in there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the West, anything that sticks out to you in there?
I mean, look, Golden State is currently beating Oklahoma City. I feel like a lot of people were praying for their demise this year because they've been so good for so long, and it looked like they were just gonna fall off a cliff, and there'd be questions about should Steph Curry want out, Draymond Green and all this. They have kind of gone through the bad of the past couple of seasons where they didn't look like old Warriors, and now it's like they retooled a bit. They're using some of these young guys on their roster. Question will be, how well do they hold up over the course of 82, moving up in the rotation. But as long as you have Steph Curry, like you have a legit shot. Wiggins will always be the X factor for that team because if they can get 75% of the Wiggins from the championship year where they beat Boston in the finals, they'll be fine. If they get the Wiggins from last year who seemed disconnected, seemed distracted, then this early start could slowly start to fade from them. I mean, like you said, the West has been kind of like everybody's kind of where they belong. Obviously, the Suns being at the top, I don't think I saw that, but they have talent there. I think the Tyus Jones addition gives them a legitimate point guard. That's helped them out. The Grizzlies in 7 are a team I'm watching. Although John Morant got hurt the other night, I think John Morant needs to switch his play style a little bit. He has a little Allen Iverson in him where he loves going to the paint, challenging these big guys, but he's not the biggest guy himself. And if he continues to do that, he's going to get those nagging injuries. And with Memphis, he's so important to what they can do offensively. They need him to stay in the lineup if they're going to be anything come June in the playoffs. Yeah. Houston, big surprise that they are up where they are because Houston has a lot of young talent as well. I think people are probably looking at next year, maybe when they put it together. But hey, if they can contend this year, I will always say with a young team in the NBA, if you can make the playoffs anyway, do it. I don't care. You don't have to be like a top 16. If they make the plane, I think Good for them. Get young guys some of that exposure to June basketball. Even if they make the play-in and they're only in it for like 2 games and they fall out, I think that can only benefit that young core in Houston. I mean, the teams that are out of it, I'm kind of yeah. The Pelicans at 3-7. Last thing I'll say for the West. Can somebody get to Zion and get him to, I don't know, change his diet or something? Because every time you look, he's got some lower body injury that he's trying to heal from.
Yep.
And I said this when he was drafted. I don't like the fact that he doesn't take jump shots, that he thinks he's just going to drive at everybody and jump over them. Once you get to the NBA, as athletic as you are, there's 4 or 5 guys on the other team that are just as athletic as you. You need something to set yourself apart. And for him, I said, watch Zach Randolph tape. If Zion could develop the offensive ability of Zach Randolph, if Zach Randolph had Zion's athleticism, Zach Randolph would be an all-time great. Zach Randolph played the game like up in his head. He played angles. He played off of like your body contact, and he reacted well. Whether it was a fadeaway, an up and under, 3-point stance, little shake, get you off balance, and like one dribble up. Stuff like that. If Zion learned that, he'd be so much better. Right now,
Yep.
all Zion wants to do is get to the rim and dunk, and his body is not built for that with the NBA rigors of their season.
No, 100%. And I mean, another guy I was thinking of when you were mentioning that was Zach Edey. I mean, you look at him coming into the
Mm-hmm.
league, he got away with so much in college,
Yeah.
so many fouls in college. Now you look at him, he's averaging basically 3 fouls a game. Like they're not putting up with it in the NBA as they did in college there. And he's not as dominant of a big man
Yeah.
in the NBA so far because he doesn't have that 3 level ability. He's got the ability under the basket, but beyond that, what does he have? So that's something. I mean, Zach Edey's in that same boat right now. Can he develop into that next level there? Zion, yeah. I mean, I still remember him at Duke when he blew his
Yeah.
shoe out. When he blew that shoe up there. I can't remember if it was that North Carolina game or when it was, but he blew the front open on his shoe. I was like, that is wild. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen somebody do that before. So there we go. Lots of interesting NBA stuff. It's early, right? It's early. We can only speculate on what's going to
Yeah.
happen, right? The Bucks still suck. So I mean, that's where we're at right now. The Bucks are still sucking at this point here. So let's look at the Badgers volleyball real quick. I just wanted to mention here Wisconsin women's volleyball. I mean, yeah, women's volleyball, right? I don't know if there actually is a men's volleyball in college, but Wisconsin volleyball gets the huge upset win over the weekend against Penn State. Wow, a sweep. It was I mean, I turned it on. My sister, she loves Wisconsin volleyball. She says Wisconsin's a volleyball school. A lot of other people say that too. But I mean, she's always so bullish on Kelly Sheffield and what he does with this Badger team. But they took care of Penn State at home, won the first set 25-23, won the second set 25-12, and then they won the third set 25-13. This is I believe they were number 3 Penn State when they were coming to town. That's an impressive sweep right there by the Badgers. So we just wanted to mention that. That is a great win, right? As a fantastic win. Like doesn't get much better than that for Wisconsin volleyball. So we just wanted to mention that real quick here. But I want to look at college football. Let's look at the college football landscape from this last weekend because there was some, I mean, games that we kind of expected, and then there was some upsets mixed in there. It was a wild weekend in college football. And hey, anybody out there in watching the show here, if you want to comment in, what was your big game of the weekend or anything you want to talk about, make sure you're commenting in. Also, if you see the text in line there, you can text the show. So make sure if you don't want to comment in, you can text the show. You can let us know what you're thinking out there. So we'd love to hear from you out there. But I mean, what a weekend in college football. We saw Oregon completely demolish Maryland. Maryland played better than what I thought they were going to in that game. They held it close right away. Oregon kind of just pulled away late. Ohio State completely just rolls Purdue. Like, I feel bad for Purdue. Gus Johnson even felt bad for Purdue. I know they had, I believe it was like a turnover or something like that, and the guy's taking it back to the end zone, and like his call was not a Gus Johnson call. Like, it was like, and Purdue gives up another touchdown, and yeah, that's the seat. Like, it was just like not a Gus Johnson call.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the big ones, right? Here's our big games. Ole Miss knocks off Georgia And Ole Miss backs were against the wall, right? I mean, they were sitting at 2 losses, one more loss, they're out. Like they're out of the college football playoff picture. They go and they handled business versus Kirby Smart. They made Carson Beck look like he was nothing at quarterback. They controlled this game. They controlled this
Mm-hmm.
game from the first half on. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you love that. 28-10 was the final. Jackson Dart plays well for Ole Miss in this one. 13 for 22, 199 yards, 1 touchdown. You love that there. I mean, Georgia now with 2 losses. These are 2 teams now in the SEC, 2 losses, backs against the wall. They're 1 loss away from most likely missing the big dance.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts coming out of that one?
Yeah, I think with that one, like you said, for Ole Miss, this is a last kind of ditch opportunity for them to kind of show the committee that they could be a playoff team. Because look, this is what 10, 11 weeks into the season, not that much regular season college football left. This is the type of performance that leaves a lasting impression on the committee. So I kind of think unless they, you know, drop some shocker here, I think this is the game that we'll look back and say that's what got Ole Miss into the playoff. I think it's also Georgia has been begging for a few losses this year and have gotten away against some teams. Against Ole Miss, they couldn't do it. I think Carson Beck has been trending downward for several weeks now. I think it's a little troubling because before the season, Beck was seen as one of those quarterbacks that if you were like quarterback needing in the NFL, Carson Beck was supposed to be one of those guys you should look at. I've seen him a few times. I wouldn't buy into that guy. Like if you get him middle rounds, I don't care. But he doesn't look like a first round pick. He doesn't look like somebody I would necessarily go in the second round for. After that, sure. But yeah, I thought it was a great win for Ole Miss. I think for Ole Miss, the past couple of years, they've had some pretty talented teams. I think the results just haven't been there. This is a big win for that program.
100%. That it was a massive win. Backs against the wall, like we mentioned, getting it done. There was one team where you said it. You said a key there. Georgia's been begging for a loss. Miami has been begging for a
Yes.
loss, begging for one. I have not been sold on Miami this entire season because you had that close game there with Virginia Tech. You had that close game with Cal. You had that close game with Louisville. Duke had you on the ropes for a while, and then you lose this game to Georgia Tech there. I mean, this what
Yeah.
they were asking for. Like you said, they were asking for this kind of game here, this kind of loss because they seem to a lot of these games, right? They're in them, they're not pulling away, they're in them, and then
Mm-hmm.
late game they find a way to score, right? Cam Ward leads them down the field and they score. Different story here against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech had the answer every single time. Cam Ward would lead Miami down the field, they'd score. It was a 5-point game, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech goes down, they answer them right back. Like this was the definition of good. I mean, all the way around football by Georgia Tech, and I love to see that. So, any thoughts on that Georgia Tech game there?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Miami has been playing, I guess, on the line here between wins and loss. There's just certain points where Miami just looked like they were just going through the motions, and I think Georgia Tech has kind of shown this year that if you make mistakes or you take them lightly, they'll make more of a game of it than you maybe want. It's just that this one they were able to pull it off. And even like late in the fourth quarter, there was opportunities for Cam Ward to lead the comeback, but they had like a late, I think, strip sack fumble. They had some play late that I don't know. You kind of question the validity of their season a little bit because they were fourth ranked. They didn't look like the fourth best team in the country. And this is look late in the season. They need to recover from this quickly because they turn around and lose again, then you're kind of running out of games. That's really going to hurt your stock. Now all of a sudden SMU is leading the ACC, which I know a lot of analysts were talking about how I think the SMU was like begging their way into the ACC for like 2 or 3 years now. They finally get in, and they may turn it into an ACC title. So clearly they knew something about ACC football that they were badly wanting to get into the conference. So look, we'll see if Miami bounces back. Cam Ward was a Heisman hopeful. I mean, I don't know what a game like that necessarily does to his candidacy, but he still threw for like 348 with 3 touchdowns. That's good. But 25 for 39, yeah, you probably want to see a little bit better there. But Miami kind of got what they deserved in that one. Georgia Tech played a much better game.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it there. Gotta love
Yeah.
it. They got it. I mean, Cam Ward, yeah, he played well, so I don't think it does too terrible, like too much bad to what he had going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other games that we saw on the docket, let's see. Indiana pulls off a late. I mean, they got the win, right? They
Indiana.
got the win. That's all that matters.
Yes.
They got the win. That's a
Yes.
good defense in Michigan, right? You got some good players on there. The
Yeah.
defense doesn't look great, but that's still a decent enough defense. You found a way to win an ugly game.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do sometimes, and that's what they did in this one. So Indiana moves to 10-0. Wowza, gotta love that.
Yes.
Florida State's downfall is masterful. 52-3, they lose to Notre Dame. Like wow,
Yeah.
wow on that one. Alabama cruises against
Yep.
LSU. They cruise against LSU. I want to get back to that game in a second here. Kansas with the upset win over Iowa State. Texas Tech, Colorado. Colorado gets the win, but that refereeing job in that game was ugly too.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention something. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Fans are getting a little crazy lately, right? We saw it in Texas, throwing stuff on the field. We see it in LSU, throwing stuff on the field. Texas Tech, throwing stuff on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a way to prevent it because you can't really prevent it, right? You can't prevent it at this point. Fans are going to be fans, right? But you're costing teams yardage. You're costing, seconds of the, you're just, I don't know. Like, is this, they saw Texas do it, and all of a sudden they just think that, like, if we start throwing stuff on the field, like, it's going to get the job over. I know Texas was fined $250,000, right? 250,000 there for what happened. But, I mean, these fans don't care. They don't
Mm-hmm.
care. So, is there, I guess, double sorted question there, double edged. So I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Double question. Do you think it's becoming a problem? First off. Second off, do you think there's a way that you can actually prevent fans from doing it? Because I don't know if there is.
I guess we'd have to know what these schools are doing to these people who are throwing stuff, and whatever it is, kind of up the penalty. If it's you're taking away their season tickets or something for the rest of the year, but they can come back. Maybe you just need to start just banning some of these people. Because look, I get it. You want to get frustrated. You want to let the refs know that you're frustrated. What happened to the days where you just booed? You just said refs suck. You kept it moving. Now with you throwing stuff, it becomes a safety issue. Because the last thing we'll need is some quarterback on an opposing team. Something happens, fans start throwing stuff, takes his helmet off, catches a bottle to the side of the head or something, gets cut open. Like, that's where this is heading. Because now we've got people like throwing stuff towards players, like in their vicinity, not necessarily to hit them, but kind of like make them know, like, hey, we're throwing stuff at you. That can go wrong in so many ways. I don't know, maybe these schools need to start doing like PSAs before the game and be like, hey, don't throw stuff. Still, some people will just want to be trolls and do it anyway. So I think the biggest thing is going to be how you punish them when you find out that they did it. That's the only way you can curb this kind of behavior. Come down on them with something that maybe the average fan says is being way too strict. Well, yeah, we're at that point where you need to start just laying down the law. Catch you throwing
Yep.
something, you're done. We don't want to see you back in the stadium. Don't need you. We'll get somebody else to fill your seat.
My wife, she sent her opinion into the show here. She says, what if it was nets? What if you had to put nets up? Like, the MLB, they puts up nets for foul balls. It's going to be a lot of netting. Like, that's going to be a lot of netting you got to
Yeah.
stretch out around a football field there. But, I mean, that would be the extreme. But if you got to do something to stop them, maybe you put it up the
Yeah.
sidelines. I don't know. Like, it needs to stop. It's like you said, it's player safety. It's player safety issues. It's a lot of issues with it all the way around there. And, I mean, Texas did start it. They started it. They didn't get a call right, so they started throwing stuff on the field. The call got reversed. So now people just think, well, if we start throwing stuff on the field, it's going to change it. LSU, that was blatant. Like that was an obvious face mask call. Like there was no changing that call.
Yeah.
So just all the way around, terrible, terrible situation around college football the way that it's happening right now. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see if they do anything to punish teams, punish fan bases, whatever further beyond that. Their Army, they moved to 9-0. That's all we need to know. Army's 9-0. They're gonna have a bid in the college football playoff. I got that feeling. I got that feeling they're gonna have a bid to get in the college football playoff. I want to see Boise State did end up beating Nevada there. So Boise State stays with that one loss on the season there. So some good stuff there. So, I mean, that's about all we got for college football. Kyle, we got to get to our fact of the day here before we get to the NFL. What do you got for me? Fact of the day here.
All right. So the year 1983, and look,
1983.
you're watching us. We're on computers, we're on laptops. That's how we're recording this. That's how we're doing the live. You can go back to 1983 on this day. Bill Gates introduced Windows 1.0.
1.0. Wow. What are we at now? What is Windows at now?
I believe Windows is at Windows 11.
Holy crap. Like, that's the thing, iPhones, too. Like, you think iPhones. Like, we're at what, 15 now? 16? Are we up to 16 at this
I think
point?
it's 16 now. Yep.
Like, holy crap. Like, that is, I mean, the way that it's advanced throughout the years,
Yeah.
that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Windows
And
1.
in
Windows
83,
1.
when you saw that little Windows logo and everything, you were like, this is where it's at.
Bouncing
Now,
corner to corner.
Yeah,
on
you're
the
waiting
old
for it to
box.
hit directly in the corner, like on that Office episode. You're like, you've seen the second coming at that point. But to know that it started in 1983 and what it's grown to now, like that's crazy.
Wild. It's crazy. I mean, technological advances that we've made, just wild. Just wild
Yeah.
there. So let's get to the NFL. Let's get to the NFL here. First thing, what do we think of these Texans all red jerseys that I'm seeing right now? That's a lot of red. I mean, honestly, is that a lot of red? Like, is that a lot of red going on right there?
Well, I mean, look, their logos looks like almost like a bull's head, kind of bulls and red. I guess I see it. Look, if that's what it takes for them to play like the way that they are tonight, rock them every week. This is as good as I've seen Houston play in like 4 weeks.
The offensive line still looks like trash, though. The offensive line still looks rough. CJ's still running around for his life there, but the defense looks bam. Like they look good right now. So I mean, we're gonna wait and see. Hope. I mean, hey, Packers fan here. I'm hoping the Lions get beat by the Texans here. That'd be great for my mojo. Oh. Nah, you didn't house it. I was hoping for a house on the punt return there. 54 seconds. CJ Stroud gonna take her to the house. So Kyle, let's look at some NFL. Let's look at some NFL here. Let's do a dive into the standings right now. Let's do a little bit of a dive. See if like we're seeing the same things out there, if these teams make sense. Right now in the AFC, we have Buffalo Bills up top of the AFC East. We have the Steelers up top of the AFC North right now. We have the Texans up top of that AFC South, but that's looking like a terrible division at this point. And then we look at the AFC West with the Kansas City Chiefs up top 9-0. Right now, looking at that AFC picture, do you see how many teams do you see in there with a legitimate shot? Like, okay, right now Kansas City Chiefs are your number one team, but what do we like looking at that AFC? How many teams in there do we see with a little bit legitimate shot to be a AFC championship contender? Like, who can get to that point?
So yeah, I would go Chiefs. I think Russell Wilson led Steelers. I think the Steelers are legit. I've seen enough from them the past couple of weeks that I think that they are one of those teams. Russell Wilson's done this, been down this road in the playoffs. The playoffs won't be too big for him. Pittsburgh is a place that if you have to go to, can be tough to win in January, so I like them. Like I just said, if the Texans play like this, before the season, I thought the Texans were a sleeper AFC title game participant with a chance to go to a Super Bowl. This game tonight is showing me that I feel a lot better about saying that before the season. I'm going to give them a slight chance as well. And they also had their experience last year. They went up against a Baltimore team, played better than them in the first half, struggled in the second half. I think it was a learning experience for them. I mean, I've said for Baltimore, I know that they are a really good regular season team. I think in the playoffs, they kind of lose direction, and that's how they lose in the playoffs. I want to see them kind of win in the playoffs at a high level before I put them up there. But it's hard not to say that they are a contender when you look at offensively what they can do. I hate their defense. I say it all the time. I don't like their secondary. I don't like the linebacking, the second level in pass coverage leaves a lot to be desired. To be desired, and the defensive line doesn't put pressure on quarterbacks like they used to. So I think for all three phases of the Ravens defense, I'm worried. That's my holdup with them. I mean, outside of that, I don't think the Chargers are there yet. I feel like Harbaugh needs a few more of his type of guys, and then you might see them next year. Buffalo, I want to put up there. I like the fans of Orchard Park. I think it's a great place to, I guess, for them to play. Josh Allen still has some old Josh Allen in him that it'll appear like every once in a while where he's careless with the ball, he's turning the ball over, and I always say like that's going to be the thing that holds Buffalo back in the postseason. I think talent wise, I think Josh Allen's a really talented quarterback. I just think sometimes he gets antsy, it tries to make plays that aren't there, and then he gets in trouble. So if I had to say like legit contenders right now, I'm looking at Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens. I think Texans are right there about to join the group, and I think Buffalo should be in the group. But I just want to see more of their like early season Josh Allen. He seemed like he turned the corner. He was taking dump down, you know, throws in the flat, the easy stuff. Now it's like more of the old Josh Allen's creeping in where he's starting to force some passes. I don't like when he starts playing like that.
I would agree. I would agree with that there. We got Dustin in the comments here. How's
What's
it
going on,
going,
Dustin?
Dustin? He's here. He's here. Nice to see you in the comments there. Let us know, Dustin, what you're thinking about some of these teams here around the league. But I would have to agree. You know, right now my tier, till somebody beats the Chiefs, they're the number one team. Like that's just you have to put them up there. They're back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Steelers, they showed me a lot against the Commanders. I think this is a very good defense that can do a
Mm-hmm.
lot. The Texans currently just went, they're going to go up 23-7 on the Lions here. So wow. I
It's
mean, I like
impressive the
you
way that
said,
they're
if it's
playing
those
tonight.
red jerseys or what it is, I don't care. They're just going to wear them every
Wear
week at
them
this
every
point.
week.
I think
Yeah.
it's the shiny helmet that does me in. Like it's the shiny helmet with the
Yes.
matte colored jersey that does me in. Like I just it's a
I'm there
weird
with you.
it's a
I'm there
weird
with you.
combo. It's weird. It's like
Yeah.
the Vikings for me. I look at that they wear that shiny purple helmet, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
different color than the purple that's on their jerseys. It drives me nuts. It
Mm-hmm.
absolutely drives me nuts. Like get one color. Just get one color purple, wear it all the way through. I think that's what
Yeah.
drives me nuts with them the most. But I would agree. Chiefs up top, Steelers, Ravens, basically polar opposites there. Good defense, overpowered offense. I think the Steelers have a good offense too, so I like that there. I would say the Texans are in there with the Bills. I think both of them have the ability to be a good football team. Outside of that, I mean, the Bengals could be a sneaky team, but that's about it. Chargers could be a sneaky team, but that's about it. Broncos took the Chiefs to the bare bone, but couldn't figure it out late in the game.
Yeah.
Couldn't, I mean, blocked field goal. Some guys are going to get fired off that team there, but that's okay. Like they deserve
Mm-hmm.
to. That was terrible blocking on their part. So, I mean, yeah, the AFC, I mean, there's probably three legitimate AFC championship contenders. And then there's two teams in there who could be dark horses. And then the rest are, they're there. They're there
Yeah.
at this point there. So, I mean, that's where we're kind of at. Dustin kind of gave us his entire tier. So, Dustin, I'm going to wait for your comment there because we'll do all the way around. But he gave us
Mm-hmm.
his whole like AFC and NFC put together.
Okay.
NFC
Yeah.
wise, NFC. What are you seeing right now? NFC championship contenders. Like who in this NFC picture right now are those we could see these
Yeah.
teams in an NFC championship game squaring off against each other or whoever.
So I feel like where I'm at with the NFC, I feel like it's Lions, despite how they look tonight. I think the Lions are still there. I think the Packers. I'm a big Jordan Love guy. I I was all about Jordan Love a couple of years ago. I wanted them to do the Peyton Manning, kick Aaron Rodgers out the back door, start Jordan Love. I was all for it. I think after that it gets real muddy. because I think the Eagles on paper are that team. I just worry about the Eagles on the field, whether or not they actually believe in that and will play up to that. It seems like they've turned the corner, so I'm willing to put them up there with a bit of hesitation. After that, it's just a fun party at that point. Like the Commanders are young, shouldn't be here, but they are here.
Yep.
I'm intrigued by them. I think Jaden Daniels has shown that he's a rookie, but he has a steady head on his shoulders, and I think he'll be okay. I think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're contenders yet. But if you're a Commanders fan, this year should make you excited for next year, the year to come. Minnesota, I think Darnold is starting to regress, and it's whether or not they can bounce back and he can bounce back. If he's going into the playoffs throwing 2 and 3 interceptions in the red zone, they're cooked. Like he's got to get rid of that now while he still has time to fix it. I think they're the level below. I think the Falcons are kind of what they are. They're a team that's going to be fun one week, head scratching the next. They're probably going to be like a 9-8, 10-7 type of team. They might win opening round of the playoffs because they'll have home field, but I wouldn't trust Atlanta to go into Philly, to go into Detroit, Green Bay, and have a shot. So I got to count them out. Arizona, I'm not gonna lie, Arizona has become fun for me to watch. It's a car wreck waiting to happen, but I'm here for it.
You can't look
Like
away. You don't want to look away.
like Kyler Murray, especially today. This is Kyler Murray. If he locks in, he could be this guy. And this might be going way off a limb here, but if you were consistently like today, Kyler Murray could be like a future MVP level type of player. Problem is, he'll play like this today, and then next week he'll throw 3 picks. The offense will look disjointed, and then you're back at square one with them. But they're a fun team. McBride at the tight end position might be the most underrated tight end in the league. Like he makes plays. Kyler Murray likes throwing him the ball, but a lot of the attention's on Marvin Harrison Jr. And defensively, I feel like they've played well this year. It's just Kyler Murray's consistency is what is keeping me from putting them up at that tier. So I think the NFC is legitimately Lions and Packers as top tier. Everybody else is second tier, third tier in the NFC for me. And the Niners, I'm not counting them out yet either. Brock Purdy's looked good. It's just that can he have enough pieces around him actually healthy for him to actually throw the ball to? But if you get all those guys back and they're good to go, obviously Ayuk's out for the year. I'm not going to count out the Niners because I think Brock Purdy is that guy. I think you have to give him his respect. If you doubted him before this season, I feel like what he's done this year, you got to give him all the props in the world.
Get him his weapons back, right? He's got nothing
Yeah.
really to work with for a while there, so that did not help at all. But I mean, I agree. The Lions, they're the clear cut. They're the clear cut best team in the NFC. The Packers, if they can get out of their own way. I mean, we mention it all the time. You get drops, you have pre-snap penalties. Get out of your own way, and you beat the Lions in that game the other day. Like that is just, I mean, plain and simple. Like you win that game. So I mean, Packers, Lions, those two are my two best teams. The Commanders, for me, are the Packers of last year. That's just where I'm at with them. They're good. They have a good young quarterback. They have a good young team. Things are flowing. Like, I love it. I love watching them. Like, that is an electric team to watch. I just think they're a year away. I honestly think they're a year away. So I love what I'm seeing out of the Commanders. I put them up there in like a tier 2. And then I see teams in that tier 2, like the Eagles. I am not putting the Eagles above the Packers. I haven't seen enough out of the Eagles at this point. I haven't seen enough out of them at this point to clearly say that. And I think if it comes down to coaching, Sirianni is not a great coach. So I'm not taking Sirianni over Matt LaFleur. So I don't like the Eagles above the Packers. So I'd put them in that tier 2 with the Commanders there. I think that's fitting because both of them NFC East and they're going to square off next week. That should be a very good matchup there. The Vikings are right with them. The Vikings are in there. Sam Darnold, I don't know what to make of him. I saw that performance against the Jaguars today. That was rough. That was rough, and it almost looked like Sam Darnold of the Jets. So I am nervous if I'm a Vikings fan because I don't know what Sam Darnold I'm going to get next week. He's had 2 bad weeks in a row now. What are we going to get week 3? That's what you're going to find out there. So that's where I have them. The Arizona Cardinals are right there too. They're Jacqueline Hyde. One week they give me this masterful performance like they did against the Jets. I know it's the Jets, but they had a great performance. And then the next week they're going to go lose to like the Bears or the Panthers. Like they'll just find a way. I don't know what it is. 49ers, I'm not counting out. The Rams are a sneaky team. They are a sneaky team. That defense is coming along. You have Puka Nacua back. You have Cooper Kupp. I like that offense for the Rams. Matthew Stafford's still got a couple bullets left in the chamber. That's an interesting team to watch the rest of the way. So, I mean, the NFC for me, like you said it. I'm going to say it. Packers and Lions are my 2 best teams in there right now. The Vikings, Eagles, Commanders, they fit my 3rd tier or my 2nd tier right there. And then I'm looking at 49ers, Rams, Cardinals. Cardinals could hover between the 2 tiers, 2nd and 3rd tier there. But that's where I put them all right now. We have Dustin. I was going to get to his. He says, Tier 1 is the Lions and Chiefs and Ravens. Okay, so he went full league right now. He went Lions, Chiefs, and Ravens in Tier 1. Tier 2, Steelers, Eagles, Bills, and Commanders. Tier 3, Packers and Vikings. I don't know if I'd put,
I would swap Steelers and Ravens.
Steelers, yeah, I could see that one. Steelers are the more complete team at this point, looking at the defense. Like, defense wins championships. I don't know what to say about that one. Commanders and Packers, I would flip. I think the Packers are the better team. I just, like I said, they got to get out of their own darn way. Like, on paper, this is a good team. Like, this is a good Packers team. This is a very good Packers team. They have weapons on the offensive side. You talk about underrated tight ends. Tucker Kraft is a very underrated tight end. They have a very good defensive coordinator in Jeff Hafley, and the defense is coming along. So I'm interested to see what this Packers team does coming out of the bye and if they can fix some of those undisciplined errors that they've been having in this first half and see if they can clean that up there. Dustin also says Lions versus Commanders in the NFC title game. The hot take right now would be Arizona as a team no one wants to play. I agree. I would not want to play the Arizona Cardinals because it depends what team shows up. You might get like steamrolled. Like that's just the Arizona Cardinals that we're seeing right now. So I would agree with that. Let's see. One last one here. No one expected the Vikings to be in this position this season, let alone the position with Darnold. It is what it is. They win the games they should win. They win 10 or 11 games with their start and have gotten off to. I mean, I agree. Like no one expected them to be in this spot. I would agree with that 100%. You don't have a quarterback. I mean, I don't trust Sam Darnold at this point to be that guy. You can have all the weapons in the world. You can have a good defense, but we saw it against the Jags today. If Trevor Lawrence plays for the Jaguars, they win. Like, that's just my bold take on that one. Is Mac Jones wasn't going to win it, but if Trevor Lawrence was there, he would have won that game. So that's where I'm kind of at with that. And Dustin says, I put the Packers at tier 3 because they are 1-3 against teams with a winning record. That hurts them. I agree. They play undisciplined football at this point. Pre-snap penalties, I mentioned. I believe I would have to relook up my stat to be 100% sure on this one. Let me see if I can't find it real fast. I had it pulled up right here. Nope, I missed it. I had the stat pulled up there, and now I can't find it. And crap, right there. Against the Lions, 11 penalties. They had that pick 6 drop passes, a missed field goal, and 3 botched snaps. You want to talk about losing a football game? There you go. You had errors. The Lions didn't. They won the game. Like, that's plain and simple. So, I mean, the Packers, they get out of their own way. That's a very good football team. And, everybody wants to allude to Jordan Love throwing all these interceptions, everything like that. I mean, let's look at the stats here. Let's pull up the stats. Let's look up player stats. Let's look at quarterbacks here, interceptions on the season. Jordan Love is tied with Geno Smith for the most. And then you see Baker and Mahomes with 9 apiece. But look at the touchdowns, 15 touchdowns for Jordan Love. Patrick Mahomes is throwing 11 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are decent numbers if you ask me, especially because Jordan Love has missed countless games at this point. He's been battling the groin injury now, and then he missed countless games before that. Those are some pretty good numbers if you ask me at the end of the day. So, yes, the interceptions suck. I want him to clean them up. But, I mean, you're going to get that out of a quarterback who, I mean, you want him – if you have the the ones where you're trying to do too much and you should just throw the ball away and live to fight another down, those are the ones that you want to get rid of, right?
Yep.
It's the ones where you're trying to make something happen. Those don't hurt as much. If you went and looked at the ones where they're ill-advised throws, they don't have a stat on that. Somebody out there probably did the stat, but I'm not going to be able to find the stat fast enough. If you look at the comparison of what the interception, the situation, and everything like that, those are the ones where you're going to key in on, where it's an ill-advised throw like the one against the Lions, where you had nothing. You should have just thrown the ball away. You decided to try and do a little loft pass over the top to Josh Jacobs. It got picked. It got taken to the house. Like, those are the interceptions that you're like, okay, those cannot happen. Now, if you're trying to push the ball and you throw it deep down the sideline and a guy just cuts it off, okay, that's different, right? You gotta. It's a difference in interceptions. So you're cleaning up the ugly ones. I mean, all interceptions are ugly, but I don't want to exclude, but I'm saying there's a difference in the way that you throw interceptions, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but there's a fine line. And, when it's an ill-advised throw where it doesn't need to happen, okay, now those are the interceptions that bite you a little bit more. And that's what we've been seeing with Jordan Love. So cleaning that up will be huge here in the second half. And coming off the bye, hopefully, right, Matt LaFleur gets with them. They start to figure out cadences. They start to understand, we got to be more disciplined. We have to hold our water. We have to be better on the line. All those little things that are going to help this Packers team down the stretch, because you see the good teams versus the bad teams. That sometimes is the fine line. Is penalties at the end of the game there. And Dustin also says, what I don't understand with the Packers is they actually played a little better with Willis than Love. Yes, Love is the better option, but Green Bay is 4-3 with Love as a starter this year and 13-13 with him in his 26 yards. The numbers are great. Did it miss half the comment?
I just assumed that he had another comment.
But he hasn't been more than a 500 quarterback thus far. Yes, you're a part of the Willis should start for Green Bay. We should just bench Jordan Love committee that we have in Wisconsin. They meet every Wednesday, just so you know. Yes, Willis. What Gutekunst did getting Willis and bringing him in as a backup quarterback, fantastic. That was a fantastic move. It might be one of the most underrated trades that a team has made, is bringing in Willis into Green Bay, because he won football games. But if I'm taking the Packers and I'm playing the Lions, who gives me the better shot to win? Right? Who gives me the better shot, right? At the end of the day, who gives me the better shot? Vikings, who gives me the better shot? I mean, you could go through this laundry list of good teams. Who gives me the better shot? Mm-hmm. And that's what you have to look at. Because when you think Jordan Love, the problem with Love and the injuries are the big thing this season, is when you take away the element that the Packers have of going under center. When you have to have Jordan Love lined up in the shotgun constantly, it limits what you can do as an offense. And that hurts a lot, right? So, yes, he's 13-13 with him in 26 starts. Yes. But you have to put that in comparison of last season, too, the slow start the Packers had. And then you look at the hot and heavy way they ended the season. Now this season, he gets hurt game 1. He's out for a while. Now he comes back. He injures the groin. He's out again. And yes, Malik Willis did fine in his absence, but the playbook changes. The usage of certain guys in that lineup changes, right? And you beat the Colts by running the ball 52 times or 50 plus times in that game. How often can you run the ball 50 some times against the Vikings or 50 some times against the Lions and expect the same outcome? I don't think so, right? So, I mean, Jordan Love gives you the better chance to win big games. Willis, if Jordan Love, this is what I said going into the Lions game. If Jordan Love could not line up under center, Willis had to start. If he could not line up under center, Willis was the guy. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on that situation right now. And Dustin also says, not part of the Willis crowd, but I am a part of you ride Willis until Love is 100%. I don't think he's 100%. I honestly feel Willis would have been the better option with the weather against Detroit last week. That's what I'm saying. If Love did not feel like he was 100% and he could not run underneath the center, okay. But you have to, I mean, the Packers, I believe I was going to look at what Josh Jacobs was doing offensively in that game, because I believe he was averaging, let's look at rushing here. They were averaging 6 yards per rush against the Lions in that game, 6 yards per rush. But they had to go away from that because you look at what happened going into half. Jordan Love throws the interception, 6 points there. Lions come out of the half, they score again. Now the Packers are down big. for 24-6 or 24-3, 24-6 at that time. Like, you are in a hole and now you can't run the football. Now you have to try and air it out. Now you're in the rain. Receivers are already dropping passes, and now you have to go away from your run game, which is working, but you have to go away from that. So, I mean, Kyle, what do you think? Is Love's the better option, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to Jordan Love and the kind of nagging injuries that he's dealt with, obviously the backup quarterback becomes a bit of a bigger deal. And look, Malik Willis has looked good when he's made spot starts, but if you had Malik Willis for 17 weeks, you'd see why he's a backup. I feel like with Jordan Love, I think there's still some habits that he is working through that still hold him back. He still kind of relies on the back, like the falling back throw, getting his body weight going back off his back foot. That was trying to say, like throwing off his back foot. And look, he sat behind Aaron Rodgers, who likes to do it. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, who liked to do it. So something about Green Bay, if you're a quarterback there, you got to throw off your back foot every once in a while. I think he gets himself in trouble with that because that's when he starts floating passes downfield. You figure in January those get picked off, and that's where games can turn. I feel like for Jordan Love, just make the play that's in front of you and keep him moving. He's too talented of a quarterback. And the receiver group, though they may not have big names nationally, have some talented guys. Romeo Doubs, talented. Christian Watson has his own issues staying on the field, talented guy. You mentioned before. Tucker Kraft, another one of these tight ends that doesn't get a lot of love. But when you watch the Packers play, you get him the ball in open field, he'll get yards after the catch. He'll gain those extra yards over the middle. And maybe it's something where Jordan Love maybe starts looking at Tucker Kraft a little bit more to just get himself warmed up, and then you take your shots downfield with Dobbs and Watson. And I know Wicks has had his issues with drops, but like he's a guy who gets open. So if you're looking at the NFC playoffs and you are one of these top tier teams and you see Green Bay coming into your building, I think they put a lot of fear into you because you know the potential of them offensively with the guys that they have. And that's not even mentioning Josh Jacobs is one of the top tiered running backs in the league. So the talent is all there. It's can they put it all together for a month stretch in January and make an NFC title game, give themselves an opportunity at a Super Bowl. I think they have the talent to do it. It's whether or not Jordan Love limits his turnovers or just the bad play. He's got to eliminate the back foot throw. I know you have the arm to do it, but I think he relies on it a little bit too much because he knows he has a good arm.
But 100%.
But the stat about 1-3 against winning teams, I mean, that kind of is what it is. But we saw him and that team win in the playoffs last year, so they can play against good teams. They can hang with them, and the NFC is so unpredictable that it might just be matchup based as to which team gets through it all, because there's a lot of unpredictability. As good as the Eagles are at 7-2, they've looked horrible at times this season. So you can't really count on them being great every week. The Falcons aren't great every week. The Cardinals aren't great every week. The Niners are barely healthy every week. So there's just so many unknowns with the NFC that it may just come down to quarterback play and quarterback play alone. And if I'm lining up the NFC quarterbacks, I'm taking Jordan Love before a lot of these other guys. And I think if that's in your favor, you got a shot.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. And you alluded to the guy, Dontavian Wicks. He has a 75.4% when it comes to separation rate. That is unreal. That is a guy who gets open all the time. But then you look at his PFF grade for drops, 7th to worst, 27. He's got a grade of 27. That's all you got to say. this guy gets open, but he can't catch the ball. So if you figure out Dontavian Wicks and the
They
mental, that's
become
a
a
big
big
thing too.
problem.
Yes, that is a big thing too. Is we
Yeah.
talk about the confidence, we talk about this team coming off the bye week, the mental thing, right? Pre-snap penalties, not dropping passes, because you look at the Lions in that game, it was raining, but they didn't have a problem dropping passes. It's confidence. It's confidence in your ability. It's, concentration. It's all those little things that lead to those. Dontavian Wicks is big for that right now. If he becomes a big player, if he finds a way to start catching the football, this Packers team becomes deadly. Like, that is
Absolutely.
just plain and simple how it is. And Dustin, don't think we forgot about you there. He says, if had Love slipped on the field last week, there's a good chance the season could have been over. That was too big of a risk, if you ask me. You play it. You had a game against the Lions. You wanted to make a statement. You wanted to win that game. Jordan Love said he was ready to go. You do what you got to do. I mean, you do what you got to do in that one. I mean, Jared Goff had a bad ankle going into that week. Like, Jared Goff could have done something to his ankle and messed it up. Like, if we play the risk week after week, we're going to get to a point where, I mean, you just played him. You had to play him in that one. I mean, watch Jared Goff. He's got 4 interceptions tonight. Like, he's throwing 4 picks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm cheering for the Texans over here, but at the same time, I need Amon-Ra St. Brown and David Montgomery to do something for me, because my fantasy team is starting to lose out on some points here, and I might lose this. I had Jamar Chase. He got me 55 points. Right now, the rest of my team is sucking, and I might lose this thing. So I don't know what to do on the fantasy side of it. But,
yeah.
Okay. Well, Kyle, anything else we got to wrap us up here? Anything? We're at the hour 30 mark. That's about where we end it every time. Anything else you got to wrap us up here?
No, I mean, I always enjoy, coming on the show and talking with you. All I'll say is, look, Drake May's that guy. I've seen enough.
Guy.
I liked him when they drafted him. I know North Carolina, he was a little up and down, but he's got toughness. He's making throws that Mac Jones wasn't making, Jacoby Brissett wasn't making. I'm all in on Drake May, and I'm so happy that they took him. Now it's about building around him, because once you solve the quarterback position, half your rebuild is kind of set. Now it's the wide receiver group, upgraded a little bit, and I think they'll be fine.
Kyle's happy. He's happy right now. Drake May is going to pan out for him. He loves it. Great stuff there. Great stuff. Always great having Kyle on the show. We got some great NBA talk tonight. It was fantastic. You can find him. He talks NBA. He talks everything sporting-wise over there at Chomping on the Bit podcast there. Find him YouTube, anywhere you get podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, you can find him out there. You can find him all over. Integrity Sports Network. He's there all the time. Make sure you give Integrity Sports Network there a follow. You can hear him talking about the NBA, NFL, MLB. When he gets on, we're on the Sports Banter Show on Thursdays, so you can listen to us there. We talk about all that stuff there. So for Kyle and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We hope to catch you back here on Wednesday. But until we talk to you guys again then, see ya.